Welcome. I'm George Ovalise. I'm Smart Machine and Robotics Business Manager at Van Meter. I'm joined with Kurt Hansen here, one of our mechatronics specialists. We're super excited to talk about OTTO and OTTO AMRs. Rockwell Automation and OTTO have provided the privilege to us to be Rockwell's first distributor to sell OTTO. We're super excited. We think that OTTO is a great solution that can help solve our customers' material handling challenges and also logistics challenges and help customers arrive to their business outcomes. So super excited to take a few minutes today to help you learn a little bit more about OTTO and AMRs and help you understand potentially how they can help you in your manufacturing process. So the goals for today would be to really kind of cover the following. What are AMRs? What should you consider when you evaluate AMRs? The comparison between AMRs and AGVs. They both have their place, but they are different in a lot of cases. Go over the OTTO AMR product lineup. We'll provide also an architecture overview that talks about the hardware solution from OTTO, but also more importantly, the software solution, how it integrates with the AMRs and also how it integrates with um, MES systems, et cetera. And then talk at the end about specific use cases where we feel OTTO can add more value to your manufacturing process and give you some examples of customers that implemented AMRs and the benefit they reaped from implementing them. So when we think about AMRs today, we have more and more customers exploring AMR technology because of the circumstance we're in today. We're seeing increased costs in goods. We're seeing limited supply still for a lot of industries. Labor shortages seem not to go away. In a lot of cases, some industries, they're getting worse. And then obviously there's always the ongoing challenge and how can we actually maintain the manufacturing environment safe for the people that work there and minimize and reduce the injuries that potentially could happen. So automation has really moved for a lot of our customers from a nice to have to really more a tactical and strategic initiative for a lot of these companies. And AMRs obviously have a place in the manufacturing floor, even in the most automated manufacturing facilities where you see a lot of automated equipment, a lot of fixed robots, you still have people moving material to and from machines manually. 25% of an average workforce at a plant, their time is associated with moving material to and from machines and moving material to storage locations or from shipping to storage locations. 55% of the floor space is taken up by the equipment to go ahead and move material to and from machines. So definitely we feel it's an area that is going to be focused on even more to help drive efficiency, to help reduce ROI, to help eliminate some of these challenges I just mentioned around workforces, safety, et cetera. So traditionally, moving material through the plant hasn't been anything that customers haven't considered before. In the past, a lot of customers would dedicate labor to move material to and from equipment or to storage locations, et cetera. And we can see why that was popular because of the flexibility people can offer to the process. If you need more material flow through the uh, manufacturing process, you just assign more people to push carts or drive forklifts, et cetera. And it can be resilient as long as you can find people and maintain, and retain them in the manufacturing plant. But there's also drawbacks, right? So typically with the human element, there's unpredictability, there's errors, there's safety concerns, there's high operating expense, because of labor costs increasing. And then in a lot of cases, lower throughput because having a human move product from point A to point B can be inefficient. I mean, how many times people have seen at a manufacturing plant a worker pushing an empty cart, right? So again, there's some challenge associated with that. Now, a lot of customers have tried to solve that by automating the process of moving material from one point to the other. That has helped provide higher throughput. It is a lower operating expense, but higher capital expense initially, and it's very predictable. But the issue that we have with automated equipment, whether it's conveyors, cranes, or even AGVs, is they're not flexible. And as things have changed because of consumer behavior in the manufacturing environment, the lack of flexibility has really hurt productivity. And, it's very difficult to reprogram and reallocate and move product to different parts of the manufacturing process as needed if you have something that's very dedicated, specific process and material flow. Like I mentioned, AGVs, even though they're used and quite a bit in manufacturing process, they're not as efficient and flexible as, let's say, an AMR. So we look at an AGV solution a little closer. AGV solution is similar to, I would say, like a train and a trade track, right? So you start from, let's say, a start position. In this case, it would be A in the graph I'm showing you there, a diagram. And you're going to in position C and you're going through B. So basically, AGVs follow a physical infrastructure on the floor, such as magnetic tape, wires, and sometimes they use beacons for positioning, and they follow that fixed path. And everything works great as long as you don't have to deviate from that fixed path, as long as there's no obstructions in that fixed path. Because if an AGV encounters an obstruction, it's going to sit there and wait till that obstruction goes away. So it's very inflexible from that standpoint. It does have a use where, again, the path is dedicated. You're not going to have obstructions. But when you actually have obstructions, is not a very flexible way to move material flow. Or if you ever need, based on changes in the manufacturing process, to move material to a different location, let's say location D, E, or F, be very difficult because then you have to go ahead and expand that physical infrastructure to do that. And there's programming involved, et cetera. So that's automated guided vehicle, AGV. What we're talking about today is autonomous mobile robots, AMRs, which think of those if an AGV is more like a train, an AMR is more like a car, right? So the car can actually go down a highway, it encounters traffic, it's going to get off on the ramp, take some side roads, and then get back on the highway when it makes sense. So similar, with a car, autonomous mobile robot has onboard intelligence. It doesn't need any physical infrastructure required to move and navigate around a facility. It actually has LiDAR technology, 3D vision. It has machine learning AI on board to be able to efficiently and accurately um, interpret an obstruction and make a decision how to go around it. So it really behaves like a worker, an operator, but it has the operational flexibility. And also, you don't need obviously labor to move these around. So again, we're getting the flexibility that we need. There is onboard intelligence, with these. We'll talk about more in a little bit. So definitely a different solution than an AGV that solves a lot of the challenges that I mentioned earlier. So when to consider AMRs? So AMRs are really used best for horizontal transportation of material. They're not really used to take material and move them up on high bay storage. They can actually bring it to a staging area, and then you can use another means like an ASRS system or forklift operator to put it up in a high bay area. So really, it's meant for horizontal transfer of information of material. It's meant to really cover long distances because that's where you get the maximum ROI for these, over 100 feet, ideally. Repetitive workflows are great. And then from a ROI justification standpoint, if you have two shifts or more, the ROI definitely is going to be there. In some cases, one shift potentially, but usually multiple shifts are where we really see AMR technology being implemented from an ROI standpoint. And obviously, with AMR technology, you can reallocate labor to other tasks that are more meaningful for the operator and create higher value for the company. So especially in tighter labor markets, we see more and more customers looking for AMRs and AMR technology as a solution to address those tighter labor markets and expensive labor markets. So when we look at specific use cases for AMRs, one use case would be bringing materials to and from people. So it could be bringing materials from a storage location to a work cell. It could be taking finished goods, put it on a cart, and bring it to storage, from a work cell. Second example is bringing materials to and from what we call islands of automation or automation equipment. It could be taking a pallet off a palletizer and then take it to a shrink wrapper, for example, for shrink wrapping. And then the final is moving material to and from racks and near the floor. So even though we don't put material on racks, we can actually bring it to drop-off location, a staging location, and then a forklift can take it from there. Now, we do have a product called the lifter that Kurt's going to talk about in a little bit that can actually take pallets off the floor, product off the floor, and bring it up to like 33-inch height to put it on a drop-off stand or take it off a conveyor and put it on a conveyor. So we can do some applications like that, but again, we're limited to really more horizontal transfer of material. So when we started thinking about um, things to consider when we look at AMRs, it really starts first with the payload. So we need to understand the payload that we're moving. So it starts with, the weight, the box size, the stack size. If we're moving a pallet, for example, we need to understand the center of gravity. Then we actually look at the specific use case. Where's the material coming from? Who's interacting with that? Is it a person requesting the material to be taken away from a specific area, or is it an automated piece of equipment making that request? Then we'll look at the facility. We'll map the facility. We'll try to understand the aisleways, the pathways, how wide are the aisles, etc. And then we're going to look at throughput. How many missions do we need to do per hour? How long are the missions? What distance we need to cover? Because all that's going to go into sizing up the fleet. And then when it comes to fleet management, what we do there is I'm trying to understand how many AMRs will be needed for the specific use case, figure out charging rates, et cetera, and then determine what would be the best solution to deploy these. So with Fleet Manager that Kurt's going to talk about, we can actually go ahead and scale up a fleet up to 100 AMRs with one Fleet Manager license. And then the other is basically the ease of use, right? How would the operator and company interact with the AMRs? Are they going to self-integrate? Are they going to use an integrator? If they do need to make changes and add an AMR to the fleet, how can they do that easy? And then also the last thing is maintenance and operation, right? How often do these need to get maintained? How do they optimize the performance of these AMRs so they can actually increase their ROI? So those are some of the things that, again, we consider high level when selecting an AMR for a specific, customer. So now I'm going to pass it over to Kurt, and Kurt's going to dive a little bit more into the AMR portfolio from OTTO.
Thank you, George. So what is it about the OTTO solution that makes them a leading AMR provider? It's a combination of three primary things. First, they offer comprehensive and rugged hardware portfolio with both flatbed and forked AMRs to tackle any job up to 4,200 pounds. Secondly, they have the most complete improvement AMR software suite. OTTO delivers the smartest autonomous driving to provide both safety and performance. But part of that is their scalable fleet management software, which can deliver the largest deployments and can be deeply and reliably integrated into their factory. Also, fleet analytics software provides actionable intelligence to maximize ROI by increasing the fleet uptime and optimizing productivity. Thirdly, services and support over the complete automation lifecycle sets OTTO apart in the market. A quick look at their lineup. OTTO AMRs automate common material handling tasks, both big and small, to help manufacturers tackle labor shortages and help scale their business. There's an OTTO for every material handling job in your facility, from the OTTO 100 handling 330-pound payloads to the 1500 with a 4,200-pound capacity. Now, your application likely needs some type of attachment to move the product. Some of the more common ones include lifts and conveyor attachments that are essentially off-the-shelf solutions. However, custom-built attachments are available to help tackle workflows and arrangements, which are very specific to one's operations. OTTO works with partners that design and build custom attachments to help solve these types of challenges. There, on the screen, you can see some examples of custom attachments that have been developed in the past with partners: dual stack conveyors, side loading of pallets, or integration with robotic palletizers, or just a few. Making up the autonomous execution system are a few key software components: the OTTO app and Fleet Manager. Let's take a quick look at each. The OTTO app is the built-in autonomy software, or the operating system for the AMR. Think of it as its brains. It takes sensing and live data, and then from there it perceives and factors those into its navigation plan before and while executing its missions. With this data, it visualizes where it is in the live environment relative to the map. The OTTO app also allows users to manually interact with the AMR by sending commands manually by essentially a joystick on the screen, or to execute defined autonomous goals or missions. So in other words, move from current location A, pick up a payload and transport to location B. It also provides a way for users to record high quality maps that are critical for the AMR in planning and navigation. The second key software piece is Fleet Manager. Fleet Manager is a system supervisor. It is server-based in the cloud or can be on-premise. It is the interface to build, maintain, and optimize material workflows for up to 100 AMRs in the fleet that it supervises. It executes the missions either independently or in conjunction with other plant systems like PLCs, warehouse management systems, or SCADA that it can be integrated with. Additionally, it manages the map and traffic controls. It configures, optimizes, and dispatches jobs and maintains the overall health of the fleet. It is the tool to help optimize the deployment. To summarize, there are two core software components. The OTTO app is the robot operating system, and then Fleet Manager is the key to integrating it with a facility and managing jobs. A complementary piece is Fleet Analytics. When bundled with Fleet Manager, it becomes an engineering support tool. It's continuously gathering fleet performance and productivity data. It analyzes historical data to help identify bottlenecks and to help optimize material flow. These are the same tools used when working with auto support when you do have issues come up with your AMR. I hope that gives you some insight into what is part of an auto solution and the functions of each. I'll pass it back to George to look at some industry-specific use cases.
Great. Thank you, Kurt. So let's talk about some of the industries where auto is in. So when you think about various industries, automotive definitely is on top of the list for auto. They got their start in automotive. Automotive is still their strongest industry. And that's really driven by the demand from the automotive industry to increase operational efficiency, help reduce the dependency on labor, reduce their cost, and maximize their ROI. Secondary industry is CPG, food and bev, especially post-pandemic. There's a lot of changes that have happened with consumer behavior that's really driving more of a need for flexible manufacturing in the food and bev space and also consumer product space. And when you need flexible manufacturing, you need to, like I mentioned before, think about solutions maybe a little bit outside the box as far as material comes and goes from your automation piece of equipment, how it flows through the warehouse, et cetera. So those are the two top industries. Other industries, just various general industrial and warehouse and logistics are emerging industries for them because of the challenges that customers face in those spaces around workforce challenges, productivity, safety, and then also the need to help reduce overall costs and maximize their ROI anytime they invest in automated piece of equipment. So let's talk about an example of a customer that implemented AMRs, specifically auto, and the benefit they gained. So Mauser Packaging Solutions is a manufacturer of plastic bins and containers, primarily for the food industry. They were fighting challenges around, labor. They wanted to increase productivity. They wanted to make sure that they were able to increase the reliability of their process at 24/7 environment. So initially, they actually had looked at AGVs and deployed AGVs for a pilot run, but they determined that the AGVs need to get charged after 3 to 4 missions. and it wasn't really very efficient for them. So when they looked at OTTO and they looked at the OTTO solution, they saw the benefit of the flexibility that AMRs offer, which benefited them from a productivity standpoint. And then they liked the software, the Fleet Manager software, and how it was laid out and how it would basically be able to optimize the charging of the AMR fleet. And from their standpoint, they were able to run 24 missions before they needed to charge. And the charge would be requested when they got around 60%. So it's not like they would deplete down to 15% charge. So they were very efficient from their charging standpoint, which helped impact their productivity. So one of the biggest benefits that this specific customer saw is 600% throughput improvement because of the efficiency that the AMRs added and the lack of the need for charging frequently like they had with AMRs. So that was a big benefit. So when we look at, again, a summary, they were able to increase the throughput by 600%. They were able to take three laborers and repurpose them to other tasks that were meaningful to them and added more value to the company. And they were able to take two forklifts out of the operation. So definitely a success story for them and for OTTO. The specific unit that they looked at was the OTTO 1500, which has a payload capacity of 4,200 pounds. Um, so that is Mauser. But when you look at other customers that OTTO has worked with, they've all gained similar benefits. Mauser obviously increased productivity. Hyrotech is able to run with the use of AMRs 24/7 through their facility, increasing productivity, but also reducing their dependency on labor. GE Aerospace was able to use OTTO 100s to bring product from storage to work cells and from work cells to shipping. And by doing that, they're able to reduce the size of the work cells, uh, gain more efficiency when it came to product flow throughout their plant. And obviously that generated a lot of, value for them. Um, Company called Sunview Patio has been using auto AMRs for 16 plus months with no safety incidents. And then GE Healthcare, like I mentioned before, they were able to reduce the floor space in their work cells, and they were able to take out some physical infrastructure such as conveyance that was used before to take product and bring them to these work cells. So they're able to reduce, their floor space, and obviously we're able to financially benefit the tune of $1.3 million from an ROI standpoint by deploying these within 1 year. And then finally, a company called Forvia, they were able to get payback on their AMR investment in 11 months. So when we think about, again, AMRs, they help us reduce our dependency on labor, increase productivity, they're safe. And then ultimately, in a lot of cases, the ROI is very quick with those, and they're able to reduce the cost of implementing them if for the right use case. So a lot of benefits with OTTO. So when you look at OTTO overall, kind of summarize, one of the benefits that we have with AMR technology and OTTO specifically is we don't need any physical infrastructure like an AGV or conveyors to move material through the facility. It's very intuitive to program. Kurt kind of showed you a little bit the software it's used to program OTTO, but also do the fleet management portion of it. It's meant to handle high payloads up to 4,200 pounds, but we do have scalability and offering within all the AMR solutions that we have. It's pretty broad, probably the broadest AMR solution in the market from a payload standpoint. And then we have dedicated support within Van Meter and also via OTTO to support our customers both on site and on remote. There's also a lot of great training available on demand, but there's also in-person training available also. And then one thing at the end is when we think about when you deploy all these automated pieces of equipment, what really customers ask today is data. So they can get as much data out of these equipment, whether it's an AMR or a packaging machine or a servo motor. And then they take that data and they try to extract insights to not only increase performance of and reliability of these automated piece of equipment, but also make business decisions based on their process and do process improvement across their manufacturing process. So the great thing with OTTO within Fleet Manager, we do have the analytics tool that Kurt talked about that is available. It's included in the price of a fleet manager, and it's a great tool for customers to use to go ahead as these AMRs are being deployed through their warehouse, constantly look for ways to improve the manufacturing process and increase the productivity because of that. That was the last slide that we had here. We appreciate you taking the time to learn about OTTO. If you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me or anyone from Van Meter from the sales team, and we're able to come out and discuss OTTO AMRs more with you and figure out if it's a good fit for you. Thank you.